Oh gods, give me modesty and humility, because I have plenty of everything else. Hello my beautiful basilisks, I'm Mythology and Mind, you can call me M&M, and today we will dive into DSM-V for the first time together. Oh my god, it's getting kind of serious between us, isn't it? What's the next step? Introducing you to my parents. You're going to love my mum. As always, we start with the mythology part, so let's get into it. I think almost everybody knows this myth, I talk about it before in one of Messiah's videos, but let's do a quick recap just in case. Echo was an Oread, a mountain nymph, who was instructed by Zeus to distract Hera with conversation while he was out fucking Echo's sisters and cousins. Hera found out eventually, obviously, and she punished Echo, making her only being able to repeat the last thing someone said to her, instead of cutting his husband's balls as anyone would do. She went to live in the countryside and she met Narcissus, who was a hunter and a very handsome man, probably because he was the son of a nymph and a river god. There are two versions about what happened next, pick your favorite. One says that she asked the animals in the forest to tell Narcissus how she felt, I don't know, maybe with ravens or parrots. She laughed at her, which made her feel embarrassed as fuck, so she died of shame in a cave. And the other one says that she randomly threw herself at him and he obviously rejected her. Like, how is he the bad one in that context? They say he rejected her with vanity, but if I'm in the forest and a random person comes out of the trees trying to embrace me, I would fucking be rude too. Doesn't matter which one you choose, at the end, Nemesis, the goddess of vengeance, tricks him to see his reflection in a pond or a river or something. He falls in love with himself and he dies from either starvation or drowning from looking at his reflection. I don't know how, because if he has his head in the water, there is no reflection. Maybe he fell and didn't know how to swim. Did you know this myth? Well, I'm sorry to tell you this is the Roman version of the original Hellenic myth. You have been tricked yet again by Roman authors to believe this was the original Greek one. But fear not, as I am here to deconstruct their forced heterosexual inclusion and bring you the original gay one. It was not a nymph who fell in love with Narcissus, but a young man named Anemias. He fell in love with a hunter and tried to court him, and Narcissus, who is a little bit mean, instead of just telling him no or to fuck off, he laughed at him, took a sword, gifted it to Anemias and told him to kill himself with it. Anemias, who was also kind of dramatic, did. He took the sword, went to Narcissus' home and ended himself off at his front door, while he prayed to Nemesis to make Narcissus feel unrequited love. I personally would pray to Anteros, who specializes in this type of deal. I have to make a video about him and his brothers someday. But yeah, Anemias was not thinking straight. Thinking straight. But yeah, you know the rest. Nemesis made Narcissus fall in love with his image, and in some Greek versions he dies of inanition, and in other he takes the sword he gifted to Anemias and uses it to kill himself next to his reflection. Of the blood he spilled, a beautiful flower was born. And Narcissus, obviously, I didn't know if you expect anything else. Now that we have the mythology out of the way, it's time to enter the psychology part. So, what is a narcissist? Let me say I am only going to use the DSM-V for this, as the CIE-11 doesn't really have a diagnosis for it. It's an unclassified disorder. The narcissistic personality disorder is a personality disorder, obviously, classified in the B cluster, which is dramatic, overly emotional, or unpredictable thinking or behavior. Specifically in this one, the people who suffer it have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. But behind this, they have a very fragile self-esteem that can be vulnerable to any type of criticism. Do you feel Narcissus could be like this? Why don't we diagnose him? There are 9 points for the diagnosis criteria, and a person is classified as such if they have 5 or more of these symptoms. 1. Has a grandiose sense of self-importance. Yeah, I think Narcissus had this one. 2. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Yeah, definitely. 3. Believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high-status people or institutions. We really don't know, so let's say no. 4. Requires excessive admiration. 5. Has a sense of entitlement. Yep. 6. is interpersonally exploitative. We don't know if giving the sword was like a way to make himself have fun, so we're going to say no. 7. Lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. I think giving people swords and telling them to kill themselves when they tell him they like him is definitely represented here. 8. Is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. Not that we see. And 9. Shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. Yes! So 6 out of 9. Congratulations, Narcissus! You have narcissistic personality disorder! Yay! Other general symptoms psychologists talk about, but they are not diagnosis criteria, neither part of the DSM-V, are expecting to be recognized as superior even without achievements that warrant it, exaggeration of achievements and talents, monopolization of conversations, belittle or look down on people they perceive as inferior, expecting of special favors and unquestioning compliance with their expectations, taking advantage of others to get what they want, becoming impatient or angry when they don't receive special treatment, having significant interpersonal problems and easily feeling affronted, reacting with rage or contempt and try to belittle the other person to make themselves appear superior, having difficulty regulating emotions and behavior, experiencing major problems dealing with stress and adapting to change, and feeling depressed and moody because they fall short to perfection. We are not really sure what causes narcissism, but there are 3 main possibilities, and they probably intermingle with each other. Environment, which would be mismatches in parent-child relationships with either excessive adoration or excessive criticism, genetics, and neurobiology. I'm always more inclined towards environment because I'm a sociocultural psychologist, but probably biology has an influence too, because it usually does, but it seems mostly social to me though. The world estimate for this personality disorder is 6%. Men are approximately 60% of this population, while women represent the other 40%. Children cannot have this disorder. They might appear to have some symptoms, but that is what being a child is, honestly. Narcissism can only be diagnosed in late teenage years and adulthood. As you are probably thinking, it is difficult to give this diagnosis to someone because you're not going to go to the psychologist if you have this because of this, because you're not going to think there's anything wrong with you. But people with narcissism usually tend to suffer from anxiety or depression because of their expectations of their life or themselves, so they can seek professional help because of that and later get the diagnosis. But it is difficult though. Can narcissism be cured? There are no medications for this disorder, but there are some studies that suggest that in some cases of narcissism, that can either be the least severe ones or older people with this, because it tends to remit over time. They can be treated through assertiveness in their personal circle, people not backing up but also not getting angry, so family therapy and through psychotherapy. Psychotherapy helps the patient have better relationships with others so they can achieve more satisfaction in them and they don't hurt others, understanding why they act the way they do, and change that to be less critical towards themselves and others, better their self-esteem, and a lot more. This is just the general idea. And that's basically it, my beautiful basilisks. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and do tell me if there is something you would like me to cover. Have fun celebrating whatever you do in your country in November. It's a very liminal month in Spain, we don't do anything. But yeah, have a nice iron age. Bye!